I never expected the DNA test to change my life. It was supposed to be a joke, something I did on a whim after a conversation with some friends about ancestry and genetics. Just for fun. That's what I told Lily when the kit arrived in the mail, when I swabbed my cheek and sent it off without a second thought. She laughed, teasing me about being paranoid, about wanting to find out if I had royal blood. I laughed with her, kissed her, held our daughter in my arms that night without a single doubt in my mind. Until the results came back. The email notification popped up one afternoon while I was at work. I clicked it without hesitation, expecting some useless information about where my ancestors came from. Instead, my stomach dropped. Paternity match, 0%. My hands froze on the mouse. My breath caught in my throat. That wasn't possible. I reread the results, my mind refusing to accept them. It had to be a mistake. Maybe the lab had mixed up the samples. Maybe there was an error. There had to be a logical explanation, because the alternative, the idea that my daughter wasn't mine, was impossible. I pushed away from my desk, my heart pounding, my palms slick with sweat. I needed air. I needed time to process. But the numbers didn't lie. I walked out of my office in a daze, barely hearing my coworkers as they asked if I was okay. I wasn't. Nothing was okay. I drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white, my mind racing through every possibility. Had Lily cheated? Had there been some mix-up at the hospital? Had something happened that she never told me? My jaw tightened, my teeth grinding together. I needed answers, and I needed them now. When I walked through the front door, Lily was in the kitchen, humming to herself, stirring something on the stove. Our daughter sat in her high chair, giggling at a toy, completely unaware that the world around her was crumbling. I stood there, staring at them, feeling a sharp, twisting pain in my chest. I had loved them both so completely, so unconditionally. But now, everything was a lie. Lily turned, smiling when she saw me. "Hey, you're home early," she said, walking over to kiss me. I didn't move. The smile faded from her face. "Nathan? What's wrong?" My throat was dry. My hands clenched into fists. "I got my DNA test results today." Her expression flickered, just for a second, but I saw it. A flash of something. Panic? Guilt? Then she forced a laugh. "Oh, what did they say? Are you part Viking or something?" I didn't smile. I didn't blink. "It says I'm not Emma's father." The air in the room changed instantly. Lily's smile vanished. The color drained from her face. Her hands trembled as she set the spoon down, her entire body going rigid. "What?" she whispered. I took a slow step forward, pulling my phone from my pocket, holding the screen up so she could see. 0% match, Lily. Explain. Her eyes darted to the screen, then to our daughter, then back to me. Her breath hitched. "Nathan, there has to be a mistake." "That's what I thought." I cut in, my voice sharp, controlled. "So I called the company, had them check the samples. There was no mistake." I watched her closely, waiting for the lie, waiting for the excuse, waiting for anything. But she just stood there, frozen, her hands clenching into fists. Seconds passed. Then, she turned away. And that's when I knew. She didn't argue. She didn't demand a retest. She didn't act shocked or confused. She just turned away. My stomach twisted, ball rising in my throat. "How long?" My voice was quiet, deadly. She shook her head, refusing to meet my eyes. "Nathan, please." "How long, Lily?" I stepped closer, the rage bubbling just beneath the surface. "How long have you been lying to me?" Tears welled up in her eyes, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no sadness, just a cold, sharp clarity. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "I never meant for this to happen." My breath came out in a sharp, bitter laugh. "A mistake? So what, you just accidentally got pregnant by someone else? That's your excuse?" She flinched, her hands shaking now. "I was scared," she admitted. "I didn't know how to tell you. I thought." "You thought what?" I snapped. "That I'd never find out? That you could just raise another man's child and I'd never question it?" She let out a choked sob, wiping at her face. "I didn't want to lose you." I stared at her, at the woman I had built a life with, at the woman I had trusted more than anyone. And I realized I had already lost her. Maybe I had never really had her at all. I turned, looking at my daughter, the little girl I had loved more than anything, the little girl who wasn't mine. My chest ached, my vision blurred, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice hollow. Lily's breath hitched. "Nathan, who is he?" And when she finally whispered his name, my world shattered completely. Lily's lips parted, but no sound came out. She looked trapped, cornered, like a deer caught in headlights. Her hands trembled. Her breath came fast and shallow, and I could see the war happening in her mind. Tell the truth or try to lie her way out of it. But she already knew there was no escape. She had already lost. I had already seen the truth. I just needed the name. The name of the man who had taken everything from me. The name of the man who had been in my bed, in my home, in my wife. The father of the child I had been raising as my own. My jaw tightened. My hands clenched into fists. "Say it," I whispered, my voice dangerously low. "Who is he?" Lily swallowed hard, tears streaking down her face, but I didn't care. Her guilt meant nothing to me now. Her tears were useless. She had already ripped my heart out. The only thing left was justice. She inhaled sharply, her lips trembling as she finally whispered, "Logan." The room spun. My mind blanked. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Logan, my best friend. I let out a sharp breath, staggering back like she had physically hit me. Logan, the man I had trusted with everything. The man who had been at our wedding, who had toasted to our forever, who had held my daughter in his arms and called himself Uncle Logan. He was the father. He was the one who had destroyed my marriage. The rage that flooded me was instant, all-consuming, white-hot. My vision blurred with it, my blood roaring in my ears. I turned away from Lily, gripping the counter to steady myself, to stop myself from putting my fist through the nearest wall. "How long?" I asked, my voice raw, dangerous. She hesitated. "Wrong move." I turned sharply, my eyes burning into her. "How long?" she sobbed, covering her face with her hands, shaking. 3 years, she choked out. "It started before I got pregnant, but I ended it. I swear I ended it, Nathan. Shut up," I snapped, my voice so loud it startled her. "You don't get to beg. You don't get to make excuses." 3 years? You were sleeping with him for 3 years? My stomach twisted violently. That meant it started when we were still newlyweds, when I thought we were in the happiest time of our lives. That meant every girls' night, every late meeting, every excuse. It had all been a cover for her to be with him. I turned away again, pressing my fingers against my temples, trying to stop the pounding headache forming. This couldn't be real. This was a nightmare. A cruel joke. But the proof was there, sitting in the high chair, giggling at her toy, completely oblivious to the fact that she wasn't mine. My heart clenched painfully. I had loved her, raised her, held her at night when she cried. And now I didn't know what to do. Lily stepped closer, reaching for me. "Nathan, please." I jerked away, glaring at her with nothing but disgust. "Don't touch me," I spat. "You make me sick." She let out another sob, but I had no sympathy left. She had killed whatever love I had for her. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, my fingers shaking as I scrolled to Logan's name. I hit call, bringing it to my ear, my other hand curling into a fist. He answered on the second ring, his voice casual, like he wasn't the biggest piece of garbage on the planet. "Hey man, what's up?" I didn't even hesitate. "I know." Silence. Then, a sharp inhale. "Nathan, shut your damn mouth," I growled. "You've got 5 minutes to get your ass to my house before I come find you myself." I ended the call before he could respond, shoving my phone back into my pocket, my chest rising and falling in harsh, ragged breaths. Lily's face paled. "Nathan, please don't do this." I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. "Oh, now you don't want me to fight? Now you care?" I stepped closer, my voice deadly quiet. "You didn't care when you were screwing my best friend. You didn't care when you got pregnant with his child. You sure as hell don't get to care now." I turned away, walking toward the front door, my entire body pulsing with the need for justice. I didn't know how this was going to end, but one thing was for sure. Logan was about to pay, and I was going to make sure he never forgot what he had done. I stood by the front door, every muscle in my body coiled tight, my hands clenched into fists so hard my knuckles ached. 5 minutes. That's what I had given Logan. 5 minutes to show up before I went looking for him myself. I could feel Lily hovering behind me, could hear her ragged breaths, could sense the panic rolling off her in waves. "Nathan, please," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Don't do this." I let out a sharp laugh, my shoulders tense. "Don't do this? You want me to just sit here and let it go? After what you did? After what he did?" My voice was low, dangerous, a quiet storm brewing just beneath the surface. She flinched. A car pulled up outside. My heart slammed against my ribs as I stepped forward, yanking the door open before Logan even had the chance to knock. He stood on the porch, his hands raised slightly, like he was already bracing for impact. His eyes darted between me and Lily, then back to me. "Nathan, listen." I didn't let him finish. My fist connected with his jaw before he could get another word out. The sickening crack of bone on bone sent a rush of satisfaction through me as he stumbled back, gripping his face, groaning in pain. "You son of a bitch," I snarled, stepping toward him, my entire body shaking with fury. 3 years. 3 years. You looked me in the eye and pretended to be my best friend while you were screwing my wife? Logan staggered but didn't fight back. Maybe he knew he didn't stand a chance. Maybe he thought if he let me get it out of my system, I'd stop. But I wasn't stopping. Not yet. He wiped his bloody lip, his breathing ragged. "I didn't mean for it to happen." My laugh was hollow, bitter. "Oh, that makes it so much better. What was it, Logan? A mistake? An accident? A drunken one-time thing that somehow turned into 3 years?" I grabbed his shirt, shoving him hard against the side of his car. "You got her pregnant, you bastard. You let me raise your kid, and you never once had the balls to tell me." Lily sobbed behind me. "Nathan, please stop." I ignored her, my eyes locked onto Logan, daring him to give me an excuse to justify the unforgivable. But he just stood there, his chest rising and falling, his face twisted in guilt, in regret, in fear. "I wanted to tell you," he finally said, his voice hoarse. "I swear, I did. But I was scared. I didn't know how." My grip on his shirt tightened. "So you let me live a lie? You let me love her, thinking she was mine? You let me look like a fool while you sat across from me at my own dinner table, knowing what you did?" Logan exhaled shakily, his eyes flickering with something that almost looked like shame. I hated myself for it. "Not enough to stop," I shot back. "Not enough to come clean." His jaw clenched, and for the first time, I saw something else in his gaze. Something uglier. "You don't understand," he said, his voice quieter now. "I loved her too." My body went still. My blood ran cold. I pulled back, my fists trembling, my mind struggling to process what he had just said. He didn't just sleep with her. He loved her. He still loved her. Lily let out a choked sob. "Logan, stop," she begged, stepping closer, her hand reaching for him, like she was trying to keep him from making this worse. But it was too late. He had already crossed the final line. I let out a slow breath, my entire body vibrating with barely contained rage. "You loved her?" I echoed, my voice eerily calm. He hesitated, but then, he nodded. Something inside me snapped. I lunged, my fist slamming into his stomach, knocking the air out of him. He doubled over, gasping, but I wasn't done. My next punch hit his ribs, then another to his jaw, sending him crashing to the ground. Lily screamed, rushing forward, shoving herself between us, her hands on my chest, her eyes wild with fear. "Stop. Nathan, please. Just stop." I was breathing hard, my vision red, my fists still clenched, itching for more. But I looked at Lily, really looked at her. The woman I had given my life to. The woman I had trusted. The woman who had chosen him. And suddenly, it wasn't Logan I was angry at anymore. I took a slow step back, shaking my head, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. You love him too, don't you? Lily's breath hitched. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I wiped my bloody knuckles on my jeans, exhaling harshly. You two deserve each other. I turned, walking back toward the house, my mind spinning, my heart pounding, my entire body screaming for escape. Lily ran after me, grabbing my arm, her voice desperate. Nathan, wait. We can fix this. I jerked away, my glare cutting through her like a blade. There's nothing left to fix. I walked inside, slamming the door in her face, locking it behind me. I leaned against the door, my breath coming fast and sharp, the weight of everything crashing down all at once. Lily loved him. Logan loved her. And me? I was finally done. I stood in my living room, my hands still shaking, my knuckles bruised and bloodied, my breath ragged as I stared at the locked door. They were outside. Together. Logan was probably still gasping for air, clutching his ribs. Lily was probably crying, begging me to open the door, to talk, to fix something that had been broken beyond repair for years. I could hear the muffled sounds of their voices, but I didn't care. I wasn't listening. I was done listening. I turned away, walking to the kitchen, grabbing a glass, filling it with whiskey, and downing it in one long, burning swallow. I needed to think. My life had been ripped apart in less than 24 hours. The woman I loved had been lying to me for 3 years. My so-called best friend had betrayed me in the worst possible way. My daughter, no, his daughter, wasn't mine. Everything I had built, everything I had believed in, was a lie. The house, the marriage, the future I had imagined, it was all gone. And now? Now I had to decide what to do next. Walk away? Burn it all down? A loud knock at the door. Then Lily's voice, shaking, desperate. Nathan, please, let me in. We need to talk. I clenched my jaw, staring at the door, debating whether I should open it just to throw her out of my life for good. Then, another voice. His voice. Nathan, man, I get it. But this isn't the way. I snapped. I stormed back to the door, yanked it open so fast that Lily stumbled back, her eyes wide with panic. Logan was standing behind her, still holding his side, his face bruised, his lips split. Not the way? I hissed, stepping toward him. You're giving me advice now? After what you did? His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to fix this. A laugh, cold, sharp, cruel, escaped me. Fix this? Fix this? You think there's a way to fix screwing my wife for 3 years? Getting her pregnant? Letting me raise your kid? I turned to Lily, my chest heaving. And you. What? Did you think you could cry your way out of this? Make me forget? Make me forgive? She flinched, but I didn't care. I made a mistake, she whispered. I let out another laugh, shaking my head. No, Lily. A mistake is spilling coffee. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. What you did, that was a choice. Every single day, for 3 years, you chose to betray me. I turned back to Logan, my voice dropping to something lethal. And you? You smiled in my face, sat at my table. Let me think you were my brother while you were screwing my wife? Logan exhaled sharply. I know I messed up. I tilted my head. Messed up? You didn't mess up. You destroyed everything. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Lily was crying, but I had no sympathy left. Logan looked like he wanted to shrink into the ground. But I wasn't done. I wasn't just going to let them walk away, not without knowing exactly what they had done, not without making sure they felt it the way I did. You want to fix this? I asked, my voice calm, almost eerie. Logan hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I do. I smirked. Then do the right thing. Marry her. Lily's head snapped up, her eyes wide with shock. What? Logan looked just as stunned. Nathan, you love her, don't you? I cut in, tilting my head. She's carrying your child, right? Then be a man, Logan. Do what I did. Marry her. Raise your kid. Build a life together. Isn't that what you wanted? Lily shook her head, panic creeping into her expression. No, Nathan, I don't, know. I mocked. Why? Because I'm not your safety net anymore? Because Logan isn't the guy you cheat with? He's the guy you're stuck with? She opened her mouth, then closed it, looking completely lost. Logan ran a hand through his hair, looking like he wanted to be anywhere but here. Nathan, you don't mean that. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. I mean every damn word. Lily took a shaky breath. I don't love him. I smirked. Too bad. Because he's all you've got now. Silence. Heavy. Final. Then I turned, walked back inside, and slammed the door in their faces. I locked it. I stood there, breathing hard, my mind racing, my heart pounding. And then I did the last thing I needed to do. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a number I hadn't called in years, and hit dial. My lawyer answered on the second ring. Nathan? I exhaled slowly. File the divorce papers. Make sure she walks away with nothing. And just like that, I was free. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dimly lit living room, nursing a drink, staring at nothing, my mind replaying everything that had led up to this moment. The DNA test, Lily's confession, Logan's betrayal, the way they both stood outside my door, looking like they were the victims in all of this. But the truth was clear now. They had never been mine. Not Lily. Not Emma. Not my life. I had been living in someone else's lie, and tonight, I had finally burned it to the ground. The divorce papers were in motion. My lawyer assured me that with proof of infidelity, I could make sure Lily walked away with nothing. No settlement. No alimony. Nothing but the consequences of her own choices. She had built a future with another man behind my back. Now she could figure out how to survive without me. Morning came, and I finally stood, stretching the stiffness from my limbs, shaking off the exhaustion. My mind was clear now. There was only one thing left to do. I grabbed my keys, walked out of the house I had once considered a home, and drove. Not to work. Not to my lawyer's office. To Logan's house. I pulled up in front of his apartment, my jaw tightening when I saw his car parked outside, one of his tires still flat from our fight last night. I stepped out, walked up to the door, and knocked. I could hear movement inside, hurried footsteps, a curse muttered under breath before the door creaked open. Logan stood there, his face still bruised from the punch I had given him, his expression wary, cautious. Nathan, save it. I cut in, stepping forward, forcing him to step back. I walked inside without waiting for an invitation, my gaze sweeping over the messy living room, the unwashed dishes in the sink, the bottle of whiskey half empty on the counter. He looked like hell. Good. He shut the door, rubbing the back of his neck. Look, man, I know you don't want to hear this, but I never wanted it to happen like this. I turned, my eyes cold. Like this? You mean, you never wanted to get caught? He swallowed hard, his jaw tensing, but he didn't argue. I loved her, he admitted, his voice quieter now. I know that doesn't make it better, but I did. And I still do. My stomach twisted, but I didn't let it show. Then she's all yours. His head snapped up, eyes narrowing. What? I smirked, crossing my arms. You heard me. She's yours now. No more sneaking around. No more lying. No more pretending. You win, Logan. You get the girl. Hope it was worth it. Something flickered in his gaze. Uncertainty. Doubt. He had fought so hard for this, had risked everything for her, and now, when he had exactly what he wanted, he looked like he wasn't so sure anymore. I let the silence stretch between us, watching the realization sink in. He didn't just take my wife. He took my burden. I stepped closer, my voice low. You think you know her? You think you're the exception? That she won't cheat on you the way she cheated on me? His expression darkened. It's different. I let out a sharp laugh. Sure it is. Keep telling yourself that. But when she starts acting distant, when she hides her phone, when she comes home late smelling like someone else's cologne, just remember, you were the other man once. And now, you're just the next idiot in line. His fists clenched, but he didn't say anything. Because deep down, he knew I was right. I turned, walking toward the door. Enjoy your new life, Logan. You deserve each other. And with that, I walked out. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. 2 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Lily tried to fight it at first, tried to ask for time, for mediation, for anything that would soften the blow. But I didn't give her a single inch. I took the house, the savings, the car, everything. She had made her choice, and now she had to live with it. Logan moved in with her not long after, and I heard through mutual friends that things weren't going as smoothly as they had imagined. Cracks were already forming. Good. As for me, I was free. For the first time in years, I had no weight on my shoulders. No lies hanging over my head. No false promises keeping me trapped in a life that was never really mine. I got my own place, started focusing on myself, rebuilding. It wasn't easy. Some nights were hard. Some nights I missed the idea of a family, the comfort of a routine, the sound of laughter in a home that now felt like an empty shell. But then I remembered. None of it was real, and I was done chasing ghosts. One night, months later, I ran into Lisa. She looked different, lighter, like she had shed the same weight I had carried for so long. We talked for hours, laughing, drinking, sharing stories of how we had both survived the worst betrayals of our lives. And when she smiled at me, really smiled, I realized something. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Months passed, and the wreckage of my old life faded into something distant, something irrelevant. I no longer woke up with the weight of betrayal on my chest. No more replaying conversations, no more dissecting every moment of my marriage, no more wondering what I could have done differently. I knew the answer now. Nothing. Lily and Logan had made their choices. Now, they had to live with them. I focused on myself, built something new, something real. My career took off, my bank account grew, my body felt stronger, my mind clearer. I was finally in control again. But then, one night, I got a text that pulled me back into their mess. It was from an unknown number, but I recognized the words before I even finished reading. "Can we talk?" Lily. I stared at the screen, debating whether I should even acknowledge her existence. But curiosity got the best of me. I typed a single response. About what? Seconds later, my phone rang. I almost ignored it. Almost. But then I picked up, pressing it to my ear, staying silent, waiting. A shaky breath. "Nathan," she whispered, her voice thinner, weaker than I remembered. I said nothing, letting the silence press down on her. Finally, she exhaled sharply. "I made a mistake." I scoffed, shaking my head. "Yeah, Lily. I figured that out a long time ago." She let out a choked sound, part sigh, part sob. "No, you don't understand. It's over." I frowned, shifting in my seat. "What's over?" Another shaky breath. "Logan and me. He left." I let out a low, humorless laugh. Wow, that was fast. Silence. Then, "He wasn't who I thought he was." I grinned, shaking my head. "No, Lily. He was exactly who you thought he was. You just thought you were special." She didn't respond right away. I could hear her breathing, could hear the weight of her regret through the phone. She finally understood. Logan had never been some fairy tale love story. He was just a liar. Just like her. A man who had no problem betraying the person closest to him, as long as it served him. But people like that? They don't change. "He cheated on me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I caught him with someone else." I closed my eyes, exhaling slowly. I wanted to say, "I told you so." I wanted to laugh in her face, to remind her that she had thrown everything away for a man who had never truly cared about her. But the truth was, I wasn't even angry anymore. Just indifferent. "Sounds about right," I finally said. She sniffled. "Nathan, I cut her off. "Why are you telling me this, Lily? What do you want?" She hesitated. "I don't know. I guess I thought you should know." I let the silence stretch between us, let her feel the distance, the emptiness of whatever she thought still existed between us. "I don't care," I said finally, my voice calm, steady. "Not anymore." Another pause. Then, softly, "Do you ever miss us?" I let out a slow breath, shaking my head. "No, because we were never real, were we?" A quiet sob. I was scared. I sighed. "Yeah. Well, now you have something to really be scared of, don't you?" She sniffled. I wish I could take it all back. I smirked. Too bad. Actions have consequences, Lily. You wanted Logan. You got him. You wanted to build a life with him. Now you get to deal with the aftermath. But me? I moved on. And trust me, Lily, I'm never looking back. Silence. Then, finally, she whispered, "Goodbye, Nathan." I smiled. "Goodbye, Lily." I hung up. And just like that, she was gone. For the first time in a long time, I felt it completely, peace. No more lies. No more regrets. Just the undeniable, satisfying truth. I had one. I put my phone down, exhaling slowly, staring at the blank screen like it was some kind of relic from a life I didn't recognize anymore. Lily was gone. Logan was gone. The past was nothing but ashes now, scattered and irrelevant. I should have felt something, vindication, satisfaction, maybe even pity, but all I felt was free. For the first time since that DNA test had flipped my world upside down, I was no longer carrying the weight of their betrayal. It wasn't mine to carry anymore. They could drown in it for all I cared. The next morning, I went for a run. I hadn't done that in a while, not since before the world shattered. My body moved on autopilot, muscles burning, sweat dripping, but my mind was clear, light. The streets blurred past me, the morning air crisp against my skin. No thoughts of revenge, no anger, just me, just moving forward. By the time I got back, my phone was lighting up again, but this time, it wasn't Lily. It was Lisa. I smirked, swiping to answer. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" She chuckled, her voice warm, amused. "I just heard the news." I raised an eyebrow, grabbing a towel, wiping my face. "What news?" "Oh, come on, Nathan," she said, her tone dripping with satisfaction. "You think people haven't been talking? Logan and Lily's perfect little love story crashing and burning? That kind of drama doesn't stay quiet." I laughed, shaking my head. "I guess karma works fast." "Faster than I expected," Lisa admitted. "I saw Lily the other day, actually. She looks different." "Different how?" I asked, curiosity piquing. Like she finally realized she screwed up. Like reality finally caught up with her. Lisa paused, her voice turning more thoughtful. "You know, if this was a movie, this would be the part where she tries to win you back." I scoffed. "Not happening." "I know," she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. "You're not the guy who takes back cheaters." "Damn right," I muttered. Lisa hesitated for a second, then, softer, "So, what now?" "For you. I mean." I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, letting the question settle in my mind. What now? That was the real question, wasn't it? For so long, I had been fueled by betrayal, by anger, by the need to make sure they paid for what they did. But now that they were both gone, their lives crumbling under the weight of their own choices, I didn't have a reason to be angry anymore. I was free to build something new. I smiled, letting the truth settle. Now, I live. Lisa laughed softly. I liked the sound of that. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't looking back. I was looking forward. I sat on my balcony that evening, whiskey in hand, staring out at the city lights, letting the hum of the world below wash over me. It was over. The chaos, the anger, the betrayal, all of it, gone. Logan had walked out on Lily just as easily as he had walked into my marriage. She got exactly what she deserved. And me? I wasn't broken. I wasn't bitter. I was free. No more lies, no more pretending, no more second-guessing every word, every glance, every late-night excuse. I had my life back, and this time, I wasn't wasting it. I took a sip of my drink, my phone buzzing on the table next to me. "Lisa," I smirked, already knowing she had more to say. "You checking up on me?" I answered, leaning back in my chair. She laughed, her voice warm, familiar. "Just making sure you haven't started plotting world domination now that your revenge arc is over." I chuckled, shaking my head. "Nah, I think I'm retiring from that business." "Good," she said. "You deserve some peace." She wasn't wrong. For the first time in a long time, I actually felt it. Real, genuine peace. Not the kind that comes from getting even, from proving a point, but the kind that comes from knowing you don't have to fight anymore. Lily and Logan had made their choices. Now they had to live with them. And me? I was finally free to start over. Lisa sighed, her voice turning softer. So, what now? I exhaled slowly, running a hand through my hair, letting the question settle in my mind. What now? I had spent so much time fighting, so much time making sure they paid for what they did, that I hadn't really thought about the next step. But now, I could. I smiled. Now? I do whatever the hell I want. Lisa laughed. That's a dangerous answer. Maybe, I admitted, taking another sip of whiskey, but for the first time, I get to decide what that means. Silence stretched between us, comfortable, easy. Then, after a moment, Lisa spoke again. You ever think about getting away for a while? I raised an eyebrow. Away? Yeah, she said. Somewhere new. A reset. A fresh start. No exes, no ghosts, no reminders of the past. I tilted my head, considering it. A clean slate. No looking back. No baggage. Just something new. That actually sounds perfect, I admitted. Lisa hesitated. Then, almost shyly, maybe we both need that. I smirked. You suggesting we run away together, Lisa? She laughed. Not run away. Just move forward. No pressure. No expectations. Just two people leaving the past where it belongs. I leaned back, staring at the night sky, letting the idea settle, letting the weight of the last few months finally lift completely. Maybe that was exactly what I needed. A fresh start. A new city. A new life. No more looking back. Just moving forward. I grinned. You know what, Lisa? That's the best idea I've heard in a long time. And just like that, my future was mine again.